And now, our feature presentation.
The best
in the world
is right here, right now.
Whether you like it or don't like it, pal, learn to love it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome.
All right, listen up.
Now it's our time to step forward. It's time to bring the NWA back into the spotlight.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Attention, everyone. Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
It's the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, DKM, and JCap.
Hey, there we are. There we are.
Come on.
We did it. We started the show, and we're only 8 minutes behind. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the No, it's not the pre-party. Good Lord. It's been a long day. This is the Alliance Guys podcast. As you can see, we're down a member. He's on husband duties tonight, so we're out DKM. But you've got me, J-Cal, and the former World Junior Heavyweight Champion, the modern day hero, Kevin Frazier. I've always wanted to do it like that. How was that? Was that good? I like
Wasn't bad at all. Wasn't bad at all.
I'm no Angelo Trinidad, but I'm trying, you know?
Yeah, if I feel like you had a microphone in an arena, you could have really drugged that one out.
Yeah, well, you know, I got something going on with the throat right now, so I wasn't going to go too hard into it, but, you know, it's always fun to mess around with your boys. Hey, I see that we got a full house already. We've got James H. Jackson in the house. Terry McDermott's here. Dave Scooby. Jimmy LB is listening in. Man, it's so cool that you guys choose to spend your Thursday nights with us. That means the world to me. I know it means a lot to the modern day hero. We're going to get to the show in just a minute. I do want to start the show off a little bit on a somber note. You know, my condolences to the family of Dale Wilkes, the Patriot, who passed away today, I guess at the age of 59. Did you hear about that, Kev?
No, I didn't. I actually did a couple of little deals with the Patriot, like right at the beginning of my wrestling career.
Do you have any stories you want to tell us about him?
Nothing that I can remember right off the top of my head. Nothing. But I remember him being around a little bit right there at the beginning of my career. You're talking late 90s, so you know, he was probably making finishing his rounds.
Well, you know, and I know he had worked with our buddy Jaden over at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, working for Dr. Lawrence Zirconium. He did a few shows working for him, so yeah, just it kind of shocking, surprising. You know, I was one of those kids that grew up with the with Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation, and I think it was in '97 when they did the Hart Foundation versus basically all the American wrestlers, including the Patriot and Vader, Ahmed Johnson, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I remember watching him in Global, and just really surprising. But you know, life happens. That's the only sure thing we know is that death is inevitable.
It's funny, we were talking about that off air a little bit.
Yeah.
So not funny, but interestingly enough, Terry McDermott says he was my age. So Terry, we're glad you're still with us, brother.
That's right.
We're glad you're still with us. So awesome. Well, I mean, all what do you call it? Introductions aside, I mean, you ready to jump into it?
I'm ready, man. You know, I know. Also, real quick, I wanted to point out too that we know today also would have been the birthday of Josephus. You know, Josephus passed away earlier this year. He wasn't a very old man either, and just want to recognize what Josephus did for the NWA. A lot of his creative and a lot of his character kind of went into that show, Power, and I really feel like we're missing that part of the NWA, some of the soul, if you will, that Josephus brought to the table. So, again, my condolences to Del Wilkes family, my condolences to the friends and family of Josephus, and we wish him a happy heavenly birthday.
Right, same. Nothing but good things to say about him. Really enjoyed what I got to see of him.
So, talking about things we really like to see, or
let's talk about it,
or that we just try to enjoy, right? Episode 33 of NWA POWERRR. The NWA, I don't know how many times we could say this. There was another episode that didn't start off with Nick Aldis at the podium. Did you guys acknowledge that? Did you guys notice that?
I noticed it. I don't know how much I acknowledged it, but you know what's funny is it didn't hurt the show. I mean, I don't think it was something I was like, oh man, I didn't get to see Nick Aldis. Actually, I really think it's better just because he is good, and too much of a good thing sometimes can wear it out. So just because he doesn't start the show and we're glad doesn't mean we don't think that what he does is good. It just, again, it means a little more when we don't see it all the time.
I just want to echo that sentiment because, again, I get called a Nick Aldis hater all the time, which is fine. You know, I have the thick skin, but what I want people to understand is that we actually really like Nick Aldis. He does his job very, very well. He's a great self-promoter. He's the best hype man you could ask for. He does a great job of putting himself over, and these aren't negatives. These are all positives. He can sell you into a match. In fact, on I think tomorrow, they'll be replaying the match that he had with Ricky Morton. And if that doesn't, if you're excited about that match, it just tells you that Nick Aldis is a great hype man.
We get to see a geriatric Hurricane Rana in that one, I think.
Well, at least there's no Asahi moonsaults or anything like that.
They probably tried one, but they had to edit it off TV because he almost died. I'm sorry. Not really. Carry on.
But yeah, I just thought it was noticeable because I think that's the second week. Well, no, he was on last week, but I feel like the NWA is starting to trust the product a little bit more by not including Aldis on every single episode. And I think that's good. To what the exact point you had said was, hey, less is more sometimes. He's the world's heavyweight champion. He doesn't need to be on TV every week. I would like to see him defend the title more, and I definitely would love to see him tour other wrestling promotions besides the National Wrestling Alliance. But I think using him sparingly on TV is a good thing. And I think, what do you guys think in the chat? I mean, I'm reading some of the comments. Terry McDermott said last week's show was this was better than last week's show. James H. Jackson said it was like in the Regions Day. Seeing the champ was very rare, so less really is more. The champ came to your territory very sparingly. So it sounds like you guys are echoing some of our same sentiments. But
yep. Well, and I think even today, in today's wrestling world, it's still that. I mean, it still works. It still applies. Just, I think it's just how you do it. And the big thing I would say that my biggest beef sometimes with the NWA is the payoff isn't worth all the stringing along. You got to have a big payoff if you're gonna string us along. You got to give me the payoff. But the other side of it too is that, you know, it's a different world in terms of competitiveness, and sometimes, you know, like, it'd be nice to see Nick Aldis wrestle a world heavyweight title match on Power for half the show, and half the show is just a 30-minute world title match. You know, I mean, I know that's like, oh, well, now you say that for pay-per-view. Yeah, but you could do it on pay-per-view too. I mean, it's not like that's not weird today. It's not a strange thing to have something like that happen. And think about like a situation where Kofi Kingston wrestled had a 45-minute match on live television, And that's pretty much what sold the WrestleMania, was because it was Kofi Mania. And him winning the title was the story of the year.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen without a 45-minute barn burner of a match on free TV. So, again, there's a way to do it, I think. And I think you need to have solid content, which actually I felt like there was some solid content on the show. You need to have that in your show to be able to stay relevant and compete. But like I said a couple weeks ago, I've also kind of backed off on trying to relate the NWA to some of the more serious wrestling promotions out there until they pull back on some of their comedy and they strengthen up some of their work rate.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. You offline, we kind of talked about this show, and the thing is, if you're expecting the NWA to all of a sudden become NXT or Ring of Honor, it's just not going to happen, guys. And it's unrealistic for us to measure this show to those high levels.
Right.
Now, I mean, you just kind of... Go ahead,
Jay. No, well, I was going to say, in all reality, like, this is the thing, is that, and this is not to say that the talent on some of those shows is just so much more superior. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the seriousness that the company takes itself is they take themselves a lot more seriously. When Shane Taylor comes out on Ring of Honor, you literally get scared. When some of the guys, when you see, a couple of guys, some of the workers at NXT, say like a Gargano or a Tommaso Ciampa come out, you're about to see, or Walter, you're about to see something. It's about to be a throwdown. And I just think there's a seriousness and a gravity that they take their product with. Not that there's not hokey stuff throughout, but it's just a general overall tone that they take. And I think NWA kind of takes a little more of a comedy tone. That I'm not going to say it's good or bad. I'm just going to say I can't put it in the same category as shows that take themselves a little more seriously. Because Hood Slam, who a friend of mine actually runs that company, and they don't take themselves seriously at all. And they're great for it. That's what makes them great.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that it's a bad product. It just means that I have to gauge my comparisons. And if they want to be compared to some of those other programs that we're talking about, which is more my flavor of ice cream, then they'd have to change a little bit of just their approach altogether. But on top of that, I think the first match that we're going to cover might be what I felt like maybe the best part of the show.
I mean, and that's I kind of agree with you. Hold on, just 1 second. Realize why my light looks so weird. There we go. That's a lot better. Okay. Now, real quick, before we get to the matches, I do want to point out Jimmy and the LB said, I like the NWA the way it is as long as they offer a quality product. That's all that matters. And he means overall. Well, Jimmy, I think some of us might argue with you on that.
But he did come back and say, I do see your point on the comedic aspect. And then what would Luke Desdu said, way too much comedy. And so, look, it's pro wrestling. We know what it is. But you just have to have a kind of, like I say, you got to have your finger on the pulse of your company of what message you're really trying to deliver. And if you're never getting true, honest feedback from just straight up fans, you're gonna miss some stuff in the translation, and you're gonna think you're something you're not. It's called a bad lack of self-awareness.
Traducus brings up a good point. He says the NWA is kind of like championship wrestling from Hollywood, a mixture of all styles except for the death match. And I mean that's pretty accurate. But let's get into the show. Let's get into it. Because you're right, this opening bout was probably one of my favorite opening matches we've had in a long time. I am absolutely enthralled with Taryn Terrell and Jennacide as a group. I feel like they complement each other so well. Taryn Terrell is super bubbly and very much a cheerleader, and then you've got the athlete Jennacide who comes in and basically is your punctuation mark. I mean, there's no question about it. She's got muscles, she's got size. Her wrestling technique, I feel, is getting better each and every week. And then you put her in the ring with Lady Frost, who I've heard nothing but good things about. She really didn't get much of an opportunity to showcase who she was against Taryn Terrell in her first match on NWA Power. But this match, I feel like she had a lot more to show. And I was impressed. I thought both women did a great job. I mean, we saw that the announcers tended to allude to Taryn Terrell as kind of transitioning into a manager role, which I have no problem with that. I think she'd be great at it. She's doing very well in that position currently. Although the fans were cheering for Jennacide, she very much wrestles as a heel. In fact, my note here says that she wrestled like her last name was Anderson, with hanging onto that armbar as much as she did. She finishes the match with a tombstone. Lady Frost goes 0-2. Jennacide looks dominant, and Frost looked pretty good. What were your thoughts, Kev?
I was really happy with 9/10 of this match.
Okay.
I really was. Like, I felt like it was what you want out of a wrestling match. And hats off to the ladies, wrestlers of this era for really closing the gap in the work rate difference, or the difference that the eyeball test. This might have been one of the best matches we've seen in 4 or 5 shows. And the work rate was solid. Both girls were in amazing shape. Taryn Terrell brought a lot of entertainment quality to it that kind of fills in some of the dead space with a character like Jennacide, who doesn't need a lot of reactions and doesn't need a lot of facial expressions, because really it takes away from the kind of robotic kind of character. And again, I always compare. I compare, if I were to say what's a character, if I was Jennocide's coach, who would I tell her to watch? I would say watch The Undertaker, because it's another character who has very, very limited reactions, but when he does make a face or when he does react, it's very intense. When he sells, it's not overly dramatic. But again, you notice that for a long time, POWERRR came out with The Undertaker to add a little bit of that flair and even a promo element to that character. I think that's fine. I think it's great. I don't think it's a knock on Jennacide, or that Jennacide should feel like she has to like close some kind of gap so that she can, talk on the mic or anything like that. I felt like they pushed Camille on the mic too hard initially, where she didn't really need to talk on the mic or prove anything on the microphone, which they could have used Taryn Terrell with her in the same fashion, which they kind of did. But the match itself, Lady Frost was really good. She was solid. Technique was really good. I felt like both the girls were in really good shape, which is a big thing. Both of them had great gear. Their ring positioning was really good. The match went the way it was supposed to. They sold. It was solid. The only thing I'm going to say is, and this is just a wrestling rule, and if anybody knows it in the NWA, it's Matt Cross, that how you finish a match is 9/10 of the match. So when that one element of the match isn't good, it's something that leaves a funky taste in your mouth. And so you can have a great match all the way through and then have a what I'm going to call this a botchy finish, where it just felt, look, and this happens a lot. You feel like you're up against time limit, and then you rush things a little bit, and then something that could have taken, did I jump, am I good, my back?
Yeah, you're back.
Sorry. But something that could have taken 2 seconds to make the timing right gets rushed, ahead of, gets kind of rushed, and things get a little fidgety. And I think that's just, the finish was a little fidgety. I felt like, for some, Lady Frost did like the twisting kick, barely hit Jennacide. Jennacide no-sold it. Then Lady Frost climbs up the ropes and Jennacide catches her and then rushes into the tombstone. And I'm just saying that little segment could have taken like 2 seconds, been 2 seconds slower with just a hair bit more drama, and it wouldn't have taken up any TV time at all, and it would have really like gave it that punctuation, because what you need for Jennacide, because it's building her up, is for her to hold that tombstone, stare into the camera, then hit the move, not just grab her and tombstone her. And so again, that's just it's just a little something that I feel like if the match has that, we're talking about one of the best women matches of the week.
Two things I want to add to that is, number one, that was a great call, likening Jennacide to the Undertaker. That's brilliant. That's exactly where they should go with her. They've got Taryn Terrell to be her POWERRR. I mean, that was a great analogy. Props to you. I tip my hat to you. Secondly, the other thing that
that's why you got the world champ on here.
That's right. The other thing that I thought that this is a very much a nitpick, but I thought that if with Jennacide working the arm the entire match, like I felt like it didn't lead to something. You know what I mean? Like if Arn Anderson's working your arm, he's probably gonna finish that match with some sort of arm bar submission, and I was kind of hoping for that. I mean, I'm a fan of Jennacide. I think she did great in the ring, but I wish there would have been like again, a way to correlate working that arm. I mean, we don't know enough about Lady Frost to know if that arm is deadly, so we don't know if she was neutralizing it. But I just kind of wish it would have played to something like it.
Well, and I want to add something to that, Jay, because you bring up a great point, and it's something I kind of was thinking about through the match that my eyeball test again is going, and to go back to the Undertaker. A character like that, I mean, really, Jennacide doesn't need to be overtly technical as a wrestler. I think it takes a little bit away from the high impact, kind of style that a character with her build, but also with a character with her gimmick. You don't expect a robot to be this the Terminator to be like this cerebral wrestler. You just think of him as a destroyer, a killer, a crusher, smashing. And with her body type, I think she could ditch a little bit of the wrestling, add a little bit more high impact, work on her selling, and a little bit on timing. And man, she'd be one of the best women wrestlers out there today.
I think we could agree on that. I did write something else that I really liked. Lady Frost's athleticism in the match. I mean, she did that standing moonsault, and I was like, damn, like that was impressive to me. Again, the other thing that, again, a nitpick is I want continuity in my storylines. Right, a couple weeks back, Jennacide came out to prevent Melina from interrupting the coronation ceremony that they gave to the world champion Camille, but they haven't tied anything back to that yet, so it seems very out of place, and it still doesn't make sense to me why they did that. They had Melina come out, that didn't make sense. They had Jennacide stop it, that didn't make sense. I still don't get why they did that, so just scratching my head on that one. I don't get it.
It really looks like they taped everything and they didn't have a completely clear direction on it. And the promos almost sometimes seem reactive. So again, I think this is where you're missing a guy like Dave Marquez, who really has experience in the eloquence of the way that the show is portrayed. Because Dave Marquez can take, chicken bleep and turn it into chicken salad or whatever it is. He can take certain. He has a way of maximizing what's on the card, and knowing how to put them in situations where where they can be successful. And then again, I mean, he's no Paul Heyman, but Dave's one of the best I've ever worked with at it. I mean, Paul Heyman's the best of all time to me. at maximizing the talent that you have. Nobody to me even comes close.
No.
But again, I just think that you're missing. There's some kind of lack of continuity in the way the show seems to have been taped.
I mean, I was at least happy that they explained Taryn Terrell last week in Jennacide, and now they're together at the ringside. That at least we got that.
Right.
Traducus on the Twitch stream wanted to ask you that if the NWA brought back the World Junior Heavyweight Championship, would you consider making a return to the ring?
I would wrestle like a Rey Mysterio. I've said it before. I would wrestle a Jushin Liger. I would wrestle, a wrestler like in a prominent situation. I think, and that's just because for me to like stop everything I'm doing right now in life and shift gears like that to get in the shape I need to be in, just all the adjustments that have to be made in my life to be good at it. Because for me, I'm not going to just throw some boots on and just go jump in the ring and look like Johnny Yuma. I'm going to like put 100% effort into it and not just go out there and look like, wet noodle. So that's something that I would have to like. It would be something where like I would like to do a 4-match deal over a year where I wrestle maybe 4 matches with, maybe a Rey Mysterio or I'd wrestle some of the young Mecha Wolf or, somebody with some major clout that benefits me on one end of it, but on the other end is a match that people really actually would want to see. Like, man, it would be great to see Kevin Douglas versus Zack Sabre. That would be a match that would be great because I'm a good technical wrestler. He's a good technical wrestler. A Ray Phoenix is somebody I could see myself going against. Like somebody like that. Like if we're talking about that caliber of talent, or even if we're talking in the NWA, I mean, Matt Cross is somebody I would think long and hard about being able to wrestle if I don't have to wrestle him in 6 minutes.
What about our boy Danny Limelight?
Oh man, you know what I think would be fun with Danny, just because I like him too much to punch him in the face. But I'd team up with him. It'd be a fun tag team. So
all I'm saying is this, right? If you step back into the ring, you got to let me be your manager.
Okay.
I'll carry that.
You ain't DK.
I'll have the bottle of water for you, right? I'll even wear the gloves.
Okay.
Whoa, Dave Scooby just broke some news here on the page. Matt Cross has signed with Major League Wrestling.
All right.
Well, that's a great signing for Major League Wrestling. That's certainly a loss for the NWA, but I'm very happy for Matt Cross. I like what Major League Wrestling is doing. I have to be honest, I haven't followed it as closely as I probably should. But, yeah, Matt Cross is certainly a gain for anybody, any wrestling promotion. So happy to hear it. Thanks for breaking the news, Dave Scoobs. And now that's going to bring us to, speaking of a couple of junior heavyweights, that brings us to Sal Rinaro. Your pal Sal, your pal and mine. A very rare ringside interview with his best friend May Valentine and Danny Deeds for some reason. They never explained that either. Again, if I'm pulling out continuity issues, they never explained how Danny Deeds all of a sudden became Sal Rinaro's manager. But this was probably the most awkward moment. This is pretty scary. As someone who's never stepped foot in a professional wrestling ring, I mean, okay, I've been in the ring, but I've never wrestled in a ring. And they've always said that the hardest part of the ring is the apron. This was scary. I do want to tip my hat to May May sold it great. She's getting better and better every week, and in this moment, how she's screaming for security, how she kept saying, Colby, no, don't do it. I really felt like this was a Miss Elizabeth moment. You know, she really was getting into it. Like, I know it's just her best friend Sal, but I mean, there was some passion there. There was some feeling, and the ultimate underdog, Sal Rinaro, got blasted on the apron with Colby Corino did some sort of suplex. I'm not exactly sure what move he was efforting to do, because I think it was, and Kevin will get into this in a moment, but I think he messed up. And I even videotaped that portion of the match, and I slow motioned it, and I looked at it several times, and I still don't know exactly what he was going for, whether it be a brain buster or a suplex. But I mean, that could have been very, very dangerous. And I know Kevin's going to get into it, but one thing I want to point out is even El Rudo, Sam Adonis, posted onto Twitter saying that he wasn't sure who he was angrier at, Colby for doing the move or for Sal Rinaro for taking it. So, Kev, let's get into it. What did you think?
So, I have spoken very strongly off air about how not impressed I am with Colby Corino. And, you know, I know I'm friends with Adam Pearce. I know Adam Pearce is friends with Steve Corino. And I know that regardless of what the repercussions are for me just telling the truth about Colby, that's just what we do on the show, is tell the truth. And Colby Corino, to me, has been underwhelming, for one, but for two, has been towing the line of just professionalism as a whole. And, you know, there's a way to do it. And, I mean, no offense to Steve Corino, who probably will never listen to the show anyways. I wasn't a big fan of Steve Corino anyway. I didn't really think what Steve Corino did was just that great. I felt like he was overrated everywhere he went. I didn't think he was that good on the mic, you know. That's just me, though. And I mean, that doesn't mean he's not a nice guy. That doesn't mean that I don't have friends that he's friends with. But I just never was that impressed with him. And I'm even less impressed with Colby Corino, especially after this situation. So, Jay, I'll tell you what he was trying to do. He was trying to give him a suplex. I'm over here like giving some demonstration like anybody can see. But he was trying to give him a suplex where he suplexed him on the apron. Brainbuster or not, the way the move goes is it takes a little bit. I mean, you have to be really specific with how you hit him on the apron, because the thing you don't want to happen is for their legs to bounce off the ropes. And I'm telling you, Corino rushed this move, rushed this thing so much that he just blew it. I mean, absolutely blew the move, like blew it bad. And, you know, Sal, I mean, look, I understand Sal's maybe not your NWA championship material, but you know what? Sal is a human being. He's a man. He probably he does have people, everybody has people in their life that love him and care about him. And those are the things you need to take into consideration when someone gives you their body in a dangerous situation like that. So I couldn't believe it, because it's really not that hard of a thing to do. I mean, it is a little bit of a tricky move, and if you're not good at it and you're not ready or you don't know if you can do it well, don't do it. And it looked like to me that the move was never practiced. It looked like to me that he'd never done this move before successfully. And heck, who knows? Maybe Sal's the reason this went awry, and maybe it's something I don't know happened because I'm not in the midst of it. But I didn't see really any effort on Colby's behalf to guide Sal in any way or protect him in any way either, which just it was just bad. It was a botch in the worst place you can botch it, and it felt like something that you have to protect the guy that you're with. I mean, that's just part of it. And it didn't seem like there was any effort for that. And when you watch guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, I mean, they slam each other on the apron all the time. They put themselves in really compromising situations. But you can tell it's done with precision. And they take their time. You know, Kevin Owens will powerbomb somebody against the apron, but he never rushes it. He always takes his time and makes sure that he, you know, slams the guy hard, but slams him the way that, you know, not going to break his neck. I mean, you're not going to not hurt somebody when you slam on the apron. I mean, it's going to suck no matter what. But, you know, there's a difference between a football player running up and tackling somebody hard and cleaning their clock on a play and then taking his helmet off and smashing him on the back of the head with it. You know, like, one is just part of the game, and that's just part of why you're here. The other is just unsportsmanlike and unnecessary. And so, again, that's kind of how I saw that, is it's somewhat unsportsmanlike. I'm over it.
I do want to say a couple things I like going to the audience. First and foremost, What Would Luthez Do says live rounds on the firing line. And I think
what does that mean?
I think that means you're shooting, brother. And then Traducus is actually a big fan of Colby Corino, and he says, I also prefer Colby as a babyface, but he's a great heel. You can tell I'm a Capital Catalyst Wrestling fan, and that he disagrees with your opinion. I mean, and that's the thing, man. Wrestling is subjective. You're allowed to have your opinions. This is Kevin's truth. The one thing that I'll say about it, you said he didn't protect him, but what I kind of noticed is he did keep that neck protected on the way down. And, I mean, if he had let go, I think things could have been a lot more dangerous. Now, Kevin, you obviously know more about wrestling than I ever will, because I never stepped inside of it. I've never taken a suplex or a brainbuster or anything else. But he did seem to cradle that head and neck and didn't allow Sal to drop on his head, which, I mean, I don't know if you can even say that is a redeeming quality or redeeming factor about the whole thing, but I just felt like he did kind of try to look after him after the botch, after it was coming down.
I don't want to claim any malicious intent on Colby's behalf. That's not what I'm getting at, but I do want to say it was sloppy, it was lackadaisical, and it was irresponsible. And so I don't think he was trying to break Sal's neck by any stretch of the means, but I do think it was just sloppy and irresponsible and rushed. And in a situation like that, you can't rush it. You got to really make sure that you put the guy right where you want to put him. And if you're not ready for that, it's wrestling. There's a million moves you can do. Slam the guy on the floor, for God's sake. Give him a suplex on the floor. I mean, you know, it hurts like hell, but it's a lot safer.
Well, and I mean, couldn't they have told the same story with a chair? I mean, they could have done the same thing. He could have blasted him with a chair, you know, do a one-man concerto, if you will, and it would have had the same effect without putting him at risk.
Or just pull the move off right.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Now, how did that match happen? The three-way match. Where was that? I never saw the three-way match.
So the NWA, and I guess we didn't really talk about it, but the NWA has started releasing more content now on YouTube. The new show is called NWA High Voltage, paying homage to the WCW tag team of the same name. And on that show, the first episode they quietly released, it was Tim Storm versus Peter Avalon for the 70th anniversary show. And that was a pretty fun match from that 70th anniversary show. They quietly released it, and it was cool. Then they made the announcement that they're going to start putting out more matches on Fridays. And this was, they aired it as a dark match. But, I mean, I felt like this was great. Like, this is what Power Surge should be, is what High Voltage is. And it's just a reminder that, hey, we do this live show on Tuesdays at 6:05 on Fight. Here's the link to buy the pay-per-view. Here's the link to watch the free stuff that we're doing on YouTube, and everyone should win with that. So I feel like that was a really smart move from the NWA, and that's where they put that match. And it was a three-way match between PJ Hawk and Sal Rinaro and Colby Corino. And of course, PJ Hawk had just gotten attacked by Mecha Wolf and Bestia 666, so he had some injuries. He was wrestling hurt, but it was a good match, told a good story, and I actually really liked it. Traducus agrees with me. The match on High Voltage was amazing. That three-way was, you know, pretty special. If you get a chance, Kev, go check that match out.
I'm gonna do it just for Traducus, so that to give Colby Corino a fair shake, because I'd like to see the match. I'd like to see him actually wrestle in a match. Because again, I haven't seen a whole lot of him. I just haven't been impressed with what I have seen. But I also think, how are they going to have a match on High Voltage that tells more of a story than some of the matches they have on their main show?
And that's you're preaching to the choir. They called it a dark match, but it directly connected the dispute that they had on the episode before about the TV title, and then literally brought to the. I mean, we were supposed to have that TV title match on Tuesday, and of course it didn't happen. But yeah,
sounds like somebody up there making booking calls that don't know nothing about wrestling. Billy Corgan.
Like, and this match would have been great if you know what I mean. Like, this outlet would have been great to do like another a good tag team match, or you've got so many. You've got the End, you've got the War Kings, you've got Slice Boogie lying around. I mean, they could put this match. This match should have been on Power this week, and they should have done something else for High Voltage.
Well, but in Devin's defense, I'm in on the conspiracy that they hate tag teams. So
you might be onto something.
Was that a segue? Are we coming up on the Crimson and Dane promo, or we got a while to go?
We're that's coming up soon. But the next thing we get is the makeshift 6-man tag. And you said they hate tag team wrestling. This would have been a good opportunity to have a tag team wrestling match instead of what we got. This was Mims, who everyone loves Mims, your buddy Captain Yuma, and one half of the NWA Tag Team Champions, Aaron Stevens, taking on the tag team of Hawk Ari and JR Kratos, the other half of the Tag Team Champions. Now, at least on this storyline, they were saying, hey, we're just putting out this match because we know that you guys got robbed of the match before. We're just killing time. They're trying to make it feel like this is a live, like, TV taping, like we're watching it live as it performs, not something that was taped a few weeks ago that they could have easily edited another match. They're kind of trying to present itself as a live program, so they had to makeshift this match. And I'm going to start off from the very beginning. I don't think that Captain Yuma should be in a match with guys who are 3 times the size. It just doesn't make sense. It's not fun television. If you're going to put him in a squash match against Paro or Tom Latimer or something of that nature, fine, but he just looked very out of place. This match just was very meaningless. I did think it was funny that Stevens and Kratos kind of hung out in the neutral corner, like just talking during the match, and they seem to be more on the same page than they've been since the show started. The match ends when La Rebellion starts attacking Captain Yuma after making probably one of the best promos of the night, which Mecha Wolf said exactly what I was thinking. This match is a mockery of professional wrestling. I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking.
I really like Mecha Wolf on the mic, man.
He says, first of all, where's my Puerto Rican flag? And secondly, he says, like, we came here, like, we wrestled all over the world. We came here for those tag titles, and why is this match happening when you could be wrestling the best tag team in the world? According to them, obviously. And
right.
I don't
best tag team in the NWA, possibly.
I don't argue that. I just, again, the whole time I'm watching that is, why didn't we get Hakari versus Mecha Wolf and Bestia? Why, that there's a feud there. Why aren't we getting an end tag team match, or again Slice Boogie in a one-on-one match, or really anything but that?
I gotta give a shout out to Terry because he says that Billy Corgan loves the Twilight Zone and the Gong Show, because there was a little thing, I think it was, we talked about it last week, that sometimes it feels like it's a mixture of the Twilight Zone and the Gong Show. This was one of those moments.
Yeah.
And you know what, Jane? I don't even feel like this deserves really a part of our show, because there was just nothing to talk about. I mean, you're right, I agree, Johnny Yuma looked out of place and out of prime. And just didn't work for me. None of it worked for me, and I hate to see him put good talent out there just to make a joke of it. It just moving on, like this is the stuff that I say why the NWA can't be on the same level as some of these other promotions, that they're going to be relegated to comedy as long as they continue to do stuff like this.
Yeah, and again, to kind of sum up my thoughts on it is anything would have been better than this. Give me Slice Boogie versus Captain Yuma. Give me anything, man. This didn't do anything for me.
Right.
Next up, we get the Jax and Crimson promo. We did a lot of talking offline after this episode. We normally don't. We normally save it for the show, but this particular episode, it was so, to quote Terry, very much Twilight Zone and the Gong Show, but also a little bit of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because there were some parts of the show that I thought were absolutely awesome. And then there's some parts of the show that just don't make sense to me, and I don't think are interesting or even entertaining. And as much as I like Jax Dane, this promo, the phrase that we came up with was poorly crafted drama.
Yes. I think that's a phrase that we'll continue to use throughout our show, not just this show, but going forward in the future.
I like Jax Dane. I like Crimson as a tag team. I think the War Kings have so much more potential than what they're getting in the NWA. I don't understand why everything has to be tension. Everything has to be, animosity between each other. Jack's reasoning for Crimson not going all in on Slice Boogie was fine. Hey, he's just a kid. You proved your point. I was fine with that. That was all okay. But then Crimson's like, where Jack says, I have to tell you something, but I'll wait till next week to tell you on Power. I just thought that was a bit much. I mean, you're on Power this week. This is a Power segment. What are we doing here?
Right. No, poorly crafted drama for sure. It was painfully. It was a little bit of a painful segment to watch. Again, I see the War Kings more as, with not trying to be cliche here, but tell him, Hawk. Like, rah rah rah. That I don't see these guys as much as like cerebral. And again, that's not an insult at all. Wrestling has so much dynamic that, I'm 5'7", 5'9" listed. If I were to wrestle, I'd be 215 pounds. So I'm not going to go out there acting like I'm Andre the Giant. I mean, Jay, many times when I wrestled, I could beat the guy I'm wrestling across from me in a shoot wrestling match in 15 seconds. And sometimes those guys were 250, 280 pounds. I could ragdoll those guys. But when we wrestled in a match, a work match, it's got to look believable to the people. The people most regular people don't understand, like, that concept. They've never been in a judo dojo where a 160-pound guy can beat a 300-pound guy and throw him around the room, because he's a black belt and the other guy's a white belt. They just aren't. Most people aren't accustomed to that. What we in wrestling, we try to portray what the audience almost assumes we're going to be like, based on our look, based on our gimmick, and that's something that I had to learn. And remember when I was telling you about Thunder Rosa and Camille, when you're if you're Thunder Rosa and you're wrestling Camille, you don't ragdoll Camille. Though you can, sure, I don't doubt in my mind she can ragdoll Camille. That's not the point. The point is Camille is this big beast of a monster, and the more of a monster she is, the more you make her look like the monster, the more like David versus Goliath you look like, which is the story that you're trying to tell and the story that people want to see. And so this is a long way around to say, they're the War Kings. You know, they're not Aaron Stevens. You know, these are the kind of segments I expect to see from like Aaron Stevens and you know, Danny Deals or, you know, Sal Rinaro. These are the segments I expect to see from the more kind of softer characters. These guys, man, the interviewer needs to be afraid while they're there next to him, like afraid of these guys because they're freaking animals because they're the War Kings. Yeah, I think I belabored it a little bit, but I wanted the people to see that the reason I explain a little bit in depth, it's because I'm looking at it from a higher, like a bird's eye view, or from what a wrestling promoter or a booker or a trainer of wrestlers might be looking at. And, you know, it just didn't make a lot of sense to have these two big bad dudes. Nothing about the War King story has made sense to me at all. They're the kind of guys you expect to hit people with chairs. And us think they're cool because they do it, because they're the War Kings. So yeah, I don't know where they're going with it, but it kind of also belabors the tag teams having dissension too. It just oh, here we go again. So I'm done on this segment.
I mean, I am too. I am too. Like, it just, I don't know, man. I want more. I want better. You know what I mean? I want better for the NWA than that. And I want better for the War Kings than that. So, yeah, I'm with you. Next up, oh, real quick, my note on here was, again, pointless. No rudder. It's like a ship without a rudder. It's like, it's just going around. Like, there's no point to it. And you know, if you go into the comments section, you see that James H. Jackson, he says, I'm glad to see Kratos will be on the upcoming New Japan shows in USA when the fans come back. Yeah, those are actually happening in my backyard and at the Coliseum and at Thunder Studios where they shot Primetime Live. So both of those are pretty cool. James H. Jackson says they will really use him to his fullest, and I believe that. I agree with that. Terry McDermott says he wants to see the War Kings bust heads. You know, at one point they were managed by Road Warrior Animal, and maybe that's what they need is another manager. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but maybe that's what they need. You know,
maybe they need to be booked like the characters they are.
Yeah, that too. Could you imagine? I was talking to somebody else and wrestling with MMA. I was talking to him offline, and we were talking about it, and I said, what if Austin Idol was managing Jax Dane instead of managing Tyrus? And I think I would really be okay with that.
Well, yeah, because if he came out and talked about them the way he talks about Tyrus, the problem is we can't have like, you know, Young and the Restless drama, you know, with these guys. We need like gladiator drama, more so, you know. There will be blood. So.
And then Traducus says he agrees with Terry. He wants to see them kill people with a doomsday device like the Road Warriors. So yeah, hey, I mean, you're talking to the right guys here, because we all agree like that's the team we want to see. You know, those are the guys we want to see, just like that. And then Terry McDermott says now Austin with the War Kings would be good. I mean, it's just an idea. It's just something I'm throwing out there. I don't know how long Tyrus will be around the NWA. I don't know how long the War Kings are going to still be a tag team in the NWA. But it'd be something interesting, and I think you'd get something better than these kind of, well, promos. But getting up to the next part, and this is the question of the week. We want you guys to sound off in the live chat. Kevin, what's the question of the week?
Well, considering what's about to happen and what we're about to go into, we kind of want to see what you guys think, who you guys want to be the next NWA National Champion. Is that correct, Jay?
Yes, it is.
So if you're in the chat right now, like, tell us who you want to see as the next NWA National Champion and why.
The why is important.
The why is very important. So we'll rattle on a little bit, but also as you guys give your answers in the chat. We'll acknowledge them and kind of discuss a little bit on what you guys think of who the national champion should be. And as far as I know, it's going to be Chris Adonis versus JTG.
Right, and that's what we get at the podium. We get the national title promos, and I'm going to quote you, Kevin, because I thought this was funny. You said, well, that didn't age very well, because we learned that Fred Rosser has signed an exclusive deal with New Japan of America. So he's just, whatever you see has already been taped. He is no longer able to be a part of the NWA because he's exclusive now to New Japan. So at the podium, you get JTG, and he says he wants the gold. It's the only reason why he's in the NWA is he wants the gold. And I gotta say, man, I remember Crime Time. I don't remember JTG looking this good, and he definitely gives off that really, that's what I'm looking for. He's got a hunger, right? He looks good, and then you've got Chris Adonis, Chris Adonis always looks like $1 million. I've known that guy since 2004 when he was training at Ultimate Pro Wrestling as Chris Morderski, where he and Adam Pearce wrestled for the UPW World Title that Adam Pearce won, by the way. And he was like a 22-year-old wrestler back then. I mean, the guy, it doesn't even seem to age. And he comes out there with strictly business. He's got his insurance policy, Kevin's favorite wrestler, Tom Latimer, and basically just says that, hey, no matter what happens, I've got insurance policy. And that's when Fred Rosser jumps in and offers to help out, kind of setting up that maybe if something goes down, you've got JTG has backup. And Kev, what did you think of this promo?
It was all right. I mean, it was okay. I mean, I think we all know. I mean, I think JTG is a little better on the mic than Chris Adonis, but I don't think either one of them are super strong on the mic. But what we really want to see is what they do best, and that's get in there and have a wrestling match. And, we can only hope that we're going to get a 15 to 20 minute match out of these guys for the title. And it being a title match, if I'm booking the match, I'm asking for some good false finishes in this match, especially once you start getting down to the wire and people are starting to anticipate that, hey, this thing's about to wrap up. Keep us guessing, and for God's sakes, do not end this match with a roll-up.
I think we'll be lucky to get 8 minutes in this match, Kev, and I don't think it's going to be on the pay-per-view, but I do hope that it's a solid 8 minutes. And some of the comments that are coming in, Traducus says Chris Adonis had his time, plus the baby oil bugs the hell out of me. What wasn't it his torn pectoral that bothered you, Kev? Did you say that?
Yeah, his torn pec just drives me nuts. I hate to say it. He's a good guy too, so I don't want to harp on him too hard. He was always nice to me. But yeah, when I'm looking at him, I'm just seeing a guy who used to be in better shape, whose body has shown the wear and tear on wrestling. And here's how I'm gonna now here's where I'm gonna actually be fair to Chris. You look at a guy, and this is a strange off the wall example, but here's how older wrestlers should age. The guy for Ring of Honor, PCO. Yeah. Is that his name? Right. Yeah. That's how you age as a wrestler. You're old and you know you're old. When you're not as pretty as you used to be, don't try to be that. Just be older and uglier and embrace it and go with something that fits that a little better. So I think it's time for maybe a repackaging for Adonis to, dig into his personality a little bit more, and pull something out that's not quite so pretty boy driven. If he goes that route, the torn pec won't bother me at all. But it bothers me on a guy who's supposed to be a bodybuilder, who's supposed to be a hard body kind of guy, especially when he walks out with Tom Latimer, and Latimer's freaking flawless. It just exposes it a little bit. And again, this is not a poo-poo on Adonis. I just think that maybe, again, I look at a guy like PCO who has aged extremely well, that's how you age well in wrestling. You kind of adjust with who you are and where you are. And I think it goes back to something that we've been talking about on this show, self-awareness.
Yeah.
The ability to recognize where you're at. That's why I'm sitting on the couch right now, Jay. And I'm not out there still trying to, hold on to something. This is where I'm at. And this is where I need to be. And I think, and I'm not saying these guys need to be at home on the couch. I'm just saying you need to be aware of who you are, where you are. And I think that the fans will be able to relate to that more because it creates certain vulnerability and honesty that people can really connect to. And so I just think that, it might be time for Adonis to look a little deeper into a different type of a character that doesn't rely so heavily on being a physique guy, because he can work. He can get in the ring and get the job done. So maybe something like that. And I don't know what that looks like, but you go around on the I go through Instagram a lot, looking at some of the independent wrestlers out there. Man, some of these guys have crazy looks, man. I don't remember who it was. I saw some Mad Max guy and two girls, and this one girl has black teeth. I mean, that's commitment to your gimmick, man. and they're great. I mean, they're great. And it's because they know who they are. That's who they want to be. They're not trying to be something they're not, and they're embracing it, and they're kind of leaning into that. And so again, I this is just kind of stuff that I think about when I'm looking at it, and I'm just saying, Chris Adonis is great talent. I just think it's time to switch it up a little bit. And then JTG is actually embodying that example. Somebody who has kind of adjusted and moved a little bit along, and because he's toned down some of his gimmickry, he's taken a lot more seriously as a wrestler now, and that's why he's being considered for singles championships.
Real quick, future show idea. You and I go through gimmicks on Instagram, and you rate them. I think that's a money show right there. Put a pin in it.
That'd be fun, because there's some good ones out there.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be me poo-pooing all over everything.
Right.
There's some great ones out there.
That's what I'm saying. Put a pin in it. Don't say no yet. Just put a pin in it. We'll talk about it later. I want to also go back to the comments where what would Lopez said. Put the title to bed. Roster's too small for 3 singles belts. I mean, we kind of said that a couple months ago too.
Great point.
Then JTG, Terry McDermott says JTG because Adonis gave the title up. Yeah, it doesn't sit well with me that he abdicated the belt and has a potential to win it back. I don't like that. And then it just makes everything that happened almost meaningless. And then James H. Jackson says it will be for the national title, but the TV title time limit will apply to the match. Laugh out loud. How awful would that be?
Let's hope not. But they will. They just won't have it counting down on the screen.
All right, so now we're going to transition to the next topic.
Wrestling, brother. Don't give them too much wrestling, brother.
Let's get back to the show, right? And, today would have been Josephus' birthday. The question mark had a lot of energy, a lot of contagious energy in that Atlanta audience. The fans went nuts for him. He didn't take himself seriously, but he kept in gimmick the entire time. He was a goofball, but everybody loved it. Well, maybe not everybody. I know Kikuchi didn't love it. I know DKM wasn't a huge fan of it. Now in 2021, there's another masked man from the NWA who claims to be friends with William Patrick Corgan, who is devoid of all that charisma. He's the antithesis of the question mark. Let's call him the exclamation point, because he has nothing that captures the imagination. For 3 weeks now, we've seen him in 1 match and 2 promos, and I haven't got any more feel for who this guy is or what's it's going to be. They didn't break down the gimmick any further. Again, poorly crafted drama is what this promo with Heart to Heart was. And, he says he spent his entire life perfecting his craft, and he wants to be champion. But honestly, he said nothing of value. This was an absolute waste of time. And by the way, Traducus says that those promos are so awkward, and he also thought it was Ted DiBiase Jr.
Oh my gosh! Don't steal my line from this one, because this is why I don't understand who the editors are and they need to be fired. This dude goes, "I get up every day at 5 a.m. and I go hard all day long to get up the next day at 7." Like, how do you go back and watch the show, see that, and put that on the show? Like, it just makes him look like a complete idiot. Hey, look, you mess up a promo, that's why you tape them. And you go back and do it again. When we were in Hollywood, like Adam Pearce, who doesn't cut bad promos, would cut 4 or 5 promos. You know? And then he gave Dave the opportunity to pick the best one. I mean, I must have sat. By the time I got through doing my promos, I'm sweating because I've been in front of the camera lights for so long. You know, I mean, everything doesn't have to be one take, and you cut scene. So when you cut scene, you can cut something out and fix it. I get up every day at 5 a.m. and I go hard all day long, and I get up the next day at 7.
I just thought he was talking about his day off, you know, like I put it in hard and the next day I take it easy.
The more I analyzed it, the more I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone for real. I don't know, man. This guy, I mean, like, talk about not connecting at all. The guy's not connecting at all. And I thought it was funny how he talked about how he wrestles like we haven't watched him wrestle already. He's like, oh, yeah, when I get out there, I'm a technical machine. And granted, I mean, he's pretty good technically, but brother, like, Johnny Gargano is a technical machine. Okay, that's what a technical machine looks like. Pete Dunne is a technical machine. One Tooth, our boy from Hollywood that used to have classics with Brian Cage.
Ryan Taylor?
I'm missing him right now. No. The guy who's teaming with Ciampa right now.
Oh, Tim Thatcher.
Tim Thatcher. That's a world-class technical wrestler. The reason is they don't do basic crap that they've been doing for 25 years. They take those things and they innovate on those things. And Ryan Taylor's a great technical wrestler, by the way, who's had some classic matches with Brian Cage and Timothy Thatcher, I would assume. But, yeah, he's a decent technical wrestler. But like I said, that match was an 80s jobber match. So it's just kind of funny to me. I felt like it was more like a laugh at the promo than like the kind of entertainment they're not probably trying to go for.
Yeah.
Or maybe they are. Maybe they're just so much smarter than I am. And they think, look at this. We're going to make a total fool out of this guy and make him look like a complete idiot so everybody laughs at him. If that's what they want to do, cool. But the guy's promo skills aren't deserving of TV time. It actually takes away, kind of like what we talked about with Camille early on. I think it takes away from a little bit of his lore. The less he talks, I feel like the better.
Well,
and all this talk about Billy Corgan, and he's Billy Corgan this. And
No.
It's just more Corgan.
William Patrick Corgan.
William, yeah, whatever. And attaching him, just making it seem more like this is Billy Corgan's little toy. You know, it's like it's his little toy that he gets to play with, and he does what he thinks wrestling should be like. And, you know, again, I just kind of think it would be funny because, you know, I sing at church on Sundays every now and then, a couple times a week, you know, and half the time my group has to tell me what key I'm in, you know, and how, you know, 'cause I'm not a trained musician. I can sing, but like, it would be like me, like going to Billy Corgan and trying to tell him how to run his concerts, you know, and this guy having been a musician for so long, and it's like, yeah, man, I want to buy Smashing Pumpkins and do whatever and do a bunch of BS with it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it feels sometimes with the NWA. It's like, what really credentials does Billy Corgan have, William Patrick Corgan have, to be calling shots like this and to be booking matches and pulling in wrestlers and interjecting themselves in the storylines? The truth is, Jay, we know that celebrities have done this in the past, and it's just never really worked well. You know, let the wrestling guys do the wrestling stuff. Bring in a Paul Heyman type character and actually let him run the show. and let them make a great product that you as an owner who love wrestling, who bought this program, who want to see this thing go, you can sit back and enjoy what's going on, and you can go tell your booker what you'd like to see, but you can't micromanage him. So anyways, I'm going to jump off that because I might get canceled by NWA forever. Be my second time getting blackballed. Care less now than I did.
Remember when Smoky Mountain Wrestling was a thing? And I'm not talking about Tony Givens, but I'm talking about Jim Cornette. I mean, that was financed by Rick Ross. And I think with a lot of the booking that Billy, William, Mr. Corgan, the Prez, the CEO, the owner, a lot of the booking that he came up with, I have no problem with. But every now and then there's these over-the-top things that are happening that just don't make any sense. This masked guy is one of them. And as I'm watching that interview, I kept thinking to myself, did anybody else not want camera time? I mean, did nobody else would have benefited from that? Because this, again, that poorly crafted drama, this did nothing to advance the character. Yes, he's wrapped in a shroud of mystery. Yes, he's an enigma wrapped inside of a walnut and a fortune cookie. I don't care. You did nothing to make me care about this guy. I still don't care. Go put him on in a match.
We don't want to. It's a mystery we don't care if we find out.
Right. I don't care who. Oh, Traducus corrected me. Rick Rubin. I said Rick Ross. It's Rick Rubin. My apologies. Thank you for the correction. And more of the comments too in the chat is Traducus says they should have covered up his tattoo because it gave away who it is. And again, I don't want to say who it is on the show because I want to uphold the sanctity of kayfabe. But I mean, if you guys want to know who it is, you could easily find out. It's not that hard. James H. Jackson says,
go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it. Blow the whistle.
No,
they can't stop you. I
can't do it. I can't. You know, when we talk about how much.
Say it.
No, I will not
I want to know, because I don't even know. All right, moving right along. Sorry, Jay.
James H. Jackson says the pure title division is in the Ring of Honor is how he'd like to see some of the matches go in the NWA. I would too. I wish they did. Earlier, Dave Scooby says it would be great if they could, do more packages on some of these wrestlers to introduce them instead of some of these poorly crafted commentaries. What would have been better than Heart to Heart with May would have been like a montage of this guy training. Showing him putting in the work in the gym, showing him putting in the work in the ring. That would have done more for me than what we got.
Showing him in a mask at the hotel.
Yeah. And only if Velvet's pointing at him. Only if Velvet's over there pointing at him.
I mean, but you could pull that off by just not showing his face and shadowing it, putting it in a shaded area or whatever. And he wouldn't have to train in the mask, but because if he's training in the mask, it's going to be comedic.
Yeah.
By nature, I don't know why, but like sometimes like if it was like a luchador, it wouldn't be as comedic. I don't know. I think because it's just much more part of their heritage and tradition. As we're now, it's almost like masks in American wrestling as a whole are somewhat almost always used in comedy. So it's just anyway. Moving along. I don't know how we spent so much time on the mask guy.
Dave Scooby says it's almost like Lance Storm under a mask if he can be serious for a moment.
I agree with that.
And then Traducus says he's only providing wrong answers. The masked man is Jimmy Chamberlain from Smashing Pumpkins. So
Lord.
There it is. It's all been solved. It's out there now. Jimmy Chamberlain, you son of a bitch, you masked wrestling man. And then that brings us to another backstage segment. Again, these are getting kind of weird. I like the idea of the heart to heart, but I don't like it sandwiched in with another promo in the back. And so now we get Thunder Rosa, and she basically is distancing herself from Melina. Hey, Mama, I love you. I got your back, and you've had my back, but you're going at this all wrong, and you're on your own. It's just okay.
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa really hasn't had her back at all. And every time I've seen the show, she grabbed Taryn Terrell at the pay-per-view and took her to the back, so Melina got pinned by Kylie Ray. Then when Camille stomped Melina, Thunder Rosa didn't do anything to help her get back up. It just feels like that's a very one-sided relationship. That's probably going to lead to a match down the road. Maybe they'll even square off at Empower and give Thunder Rosa something to do where it's somewhat of a highlighted match, but not exactly the main event. For whatever reason, the NWA don't want to push Thunder Rosa as a top women at the moment. And so
that makes no sense. Even if she's going to be leaving the company at the end of her contract. So, I mean, I still think you can squeeze every bit of entertainment out of her. Golly, put all your wrestlers in there with her and have them put her put them over, for God's sakes. Let her go out there and wrestle 20-minute matches. That's what I did the year after I won the world title. I went everywhere, I beat everybody, and I lost everybody and got paid very well for it. But that's why you're out there. I mean, I'm just saying, Thunder Rosa would not lose it. If she lost to every woman on the freaking roster but had classic matches with each one of them, she ain't losing nothing. She can turn right around and in 3 months be the champion again. I mean, she's that good. So I don't know. I feel like it's dropping the ball. She needs to be in the ring, not having promos.
I think, so we get a match with Melina and Kylie Ray, which is the main event of the night. And Kylie Ray is something special. Kylie Ray's good. I'm going to say Kylie Ray's real good. And I think there's money in putting matches together with Thunder Rosa and Kylie Ray until you figure out what you're going to do with Kylie Ray going further. Oh, battery is dead. J-Cal is out. It's now the Kevin show.
Well, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and take over for a second until Jay gets his camera back on. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I felt like with the Kylie Ray and Melina match. I felt like Kylie Ray was super strong in this match. And when I say strong, I mean her ring positioning was good, her spacing, her timing. And, the thing about Melina, and this is a compliment, that it's like, it feels like no matter where Melina might be in her shape or whatever's going on with her as a wrestler, it always feels like she can still pull together a decent match and do the things she needs to do to have a good match. I don't think this is a great match, but I just felt like I felt like Kylie Ray was just really strong in this match in so many different ways. You guys in the chat, you can go ahead and tell your opinions on it, considering that my buddy's still trying to get everything going together on his side.
Hey, I'm here, by the way. You can hear me. I just my camera's dead, so I'm here. But your face is the show now.
I can relay Jay's messages because I can still hear him, though you guys can't.
No, they can hear me too.
Oh, okay. They just can't see you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I mean, that's just kind of how I thought. I just thought Kylie Ray was just very sound technically, and not just technically. When I say technically, I don't just mean like arm bars and wrist holds. I mean like the technical aspect of it, meaning like her ring positioning, her body, like the way she presents her body on camera. These are things that like good wrestlers know how to do. This is something I see wrestlers that haven't spent a lot of time on television. They don't think about this sort of thing. They just go out there and do stuff. But she really seems to have a kind of general awareness of what to do. Then Melina's another good one who's very camera aware. And also, that was something that Jennacide was very aware of too. She was very camera aware. She was very aware of where the camera was. Her body language was the camera. And so, again, I felt like the women carried this show this week because both matches were pretty strong. I don't think the main was... I think DK was very upset with the main event.
Hey, Kevin. Kevin, can you try to talk a little bit louder? The audience is having trouble hearing you.
Maybe it's because we went down. They hadn't said anything until just recently.
No, they're saying you're quiet. They can hear us, but they're saying that you're quiet. You're very, very low.
Did it just happen, or is it just recently, or has it been like this the whole show?
I'm not sure.
Let's see what they say. Hey guys, did this just happen, or has it been happening the whole show? Roz. Well, here we go. Technical issues are the heel in the Alliance guys podcast. As far I've disconnected any other Bluetooth in the house, so it shouldn't affect my volume.
James just said at times the mic is loud, other times it's soft.
Huh. Okay. When the camera went down, that's what I figured. So, yeah, Luthez said when the camera went down, I lost my audio integrity. So, I don't know what that means. Happened over the last 3 minutes. Okay. Huh. Well, guys, maybe we hobble into the finish like Jennacide and Lady Frost did.
we hobble into the finish.
We botched the finish on the show tonight. Oh, brother.
It,
They can hear you really good. So, if you want to sign us out, or we can do it that way. I'm okay with it. It's not always going to be perfect.
Well, let's just finish our thoughts. Again, the match went back and forth. Kylie has a ton of charisma. She wins with the sweet chin music, which is kind of funny because Triduckus earlier in the show said that the Young Bucks need to step up their game because super kicks. If Kylie can knock out somebody with a super kick, why can't the Young Bucks? And I thought that was kind of funny. I don't feel like this match did any favors for Melina, but I thought Kylie looked great. And I think that Kylie just needs to face off more opponents who can compete at that higher level. I just don't know that Melina can anymore.
I can agree with that. I think Melina should be shying away from one-on-one wrestling matches right now.
Agreed.
Not I think that's not a look. It happens. It's going to happen eventually where you shouldn't be in the ring. And I just want her to, she's a legend, and I think for her own career integrity, it'd be best that she stays in the show, but just maybe as a manager.
Well, and I know that they had mentioned that she got hurt at the show, which that's unfortunate. It really is, because right. I know she is capable of still putting on decent matches, better matches, and this wasn't awful, but I feel like she had to work way too hard to get what little she did out of that match. And if they know that she's hurt, this could have been Sky Blue, this could have been Taryn Terrell, this could have been anybody. So
I agree 100%.
Well, guys, I guess that's going to do it for us this week. That's the show. Again, make sure you check out the YouTube channel tomorrow so you can see the geriatric Ricky Morton take on the world's heavyweight champion from February of last year. That one of the few title defenses that Nick Aldis actually had in 2020. And we'll be back here on Tuesday. Tuesday's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be a live show, but there will be a special interview that you'll find out on Tuesday who I'll be talking to as part of the pre-party as we get you hyped up for NWA Power. Of course, the national title match will be determined, and we'll get into all of that too. So make sure you check that out on Tuesday. That's at 5:05 Eastern, 2:05 Pacific, just ahead of POWERRR. Kevin, if folks want to follow you on the social medias, how do they do it?
Well, Jay, do you mind going ahead and giving them my info, just because in case I'm having audio issues, that they can actually hear it?
Yeah, well, on Twitter, they can find you at Kevin Lee Frazier, and that's where you can find Kevin's basically retweeting a lot of what I talk about. And then the YouTube channel is the Modern Day Hero 24/7, right?
It's Kevin Douglas 247.
Kevin Douglas 247, and that's where you can connect with Kevin on YouTube and see some of his previous matches, like the barn burner he had against the Tokyo Monster Kahagas, and a lot of other matches that he's put up over the years. You guys want to check that out, because Kevin, like, what you guys don't understand is that he's not just this really cool guy that talks wrestling with us. He's not just a dude who used to wrestle in the indies. This man was a former NWA junior world champion, a junior heavyweight world champion. And I really feel like, if people don't know what Kevin's contributions to the wrestling scene were, go watch some of his matches. You'll find out real quick how good Kevin is. There's a reason why we latched onto this man about 10 years ago, early on, because when this guy was competing for that junior heavyweight title, DKM was so over the moon about how good he was. And then seeing him wrestle in Hollywood against the likes of Johnny Yuma and Nick Madrid, these were great, stellar matches. And then the matches that he would have in New Jersey against the Koki Kid. I mean, this guy really did put the NWA on his back and carry that junior heavyweight division for a good solid year, and should be recognized as such. So make sure you check out those YouTube channels. Yeah, I've been meaning to say stuff like that for a long time, but now that you're, like, the camera's just on you and everyone has to look at you while I'm putting you over, I thought that'd be appropriate.
Oh, so maybe I need to smolder a little better while I'm on.
Yeah, smolder. There it is. Get the smolder going. And then we should be back next Thursday in some form or fashion. Hopefully it's the full show. We'll keep you guys posted on social media. You can follow us at the Alliance Blog, and that's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Spotify, where all your podcasting services are at, and all your video streaming services. Just check out the Alliance Blog. We really appreciate you guys spending your Thursdays with us. Sorry to end on such a downer with the technology not working for us, but hopefully we'll remedy that soon. Until next time, for Kevin, for the missing DKM, this is J-Cal, and we're going to see you at the matches. Have a good night now.